This is LARVOL and friend Bruno LARVOL here with my guest today, and we're going to talk about key opinion leaders in pharma, Sandeep Ghosal, who is joining us from India. LARVOL and friend is a weekly get-together. Before we start, actually, I want to make sure the audio is okay, so I'm going to ask my colleague Shahi. I hear a little bit of a noise on the line. Is the audio okay right now?
Yes, you're loud and clear, Bruno.
Okay. And Sandeep, go on mute for just a second. I want to check something. Okay, there's a bit of background noise on your side, but we'll do our best with it, Sandeep. Okay, so just to start again, LARVOL, and maybe when you don't speak, Sandeep, just be on mute for a second. Yeah, thank you. A little bit of a audio constraints here, but we're going to be okay. So LARVOL and Friend is a weekly get-together where we talk about various topics with friends of LARVOL. LARVOL is a SaaS company. We sell software as a service and data as a service to the pharmaceutical and healthcare industry in areas such as medical affairs, competitive intelligence, and research and development. We've been in business for 17 years, and we have that particularity that forever we've been a remote company, even before COVID. So we are 150 people. Everybody's working remotely. My VP of operation and I worked together for 12 years, and we never met in person, not a single time. And one more thing before we talk about the topic for today. We have recently moved to the next step, which is a metaverse. So essentially, for 1 year, I'm running the company completely from the metaverse with no phone call, no email, no meeting in person with my colleagues. All of the management interaction is done on the metaverse. So we're the first business really to be run from the metaverse. And it's a both exciting journey, but as Sandeep will probably mention on, it's also at times challenging. So let me now introduce our guest, Sandeep Ghosal. Sandeep and I worked together for about a year now, and he's the head of our key opinion leader department, which is our largest product at LARVOL. And I will let him explain what we do and what our product is in a second. But first, I'm going to ask him to introduce himself a little bit, where he lives, maybe a little bit about his background as well. So, Sandeep, welcome to the program today.
Thanks, Bruno. So, hi everyone. Hi. So, basically, my name is Sandeep, and I have completed my graduation of pharmacy from Dr. MGR Medical University, Chennai, and then I have completed a GATE qualified. I am, and then I have done my master in clinical research and pharma management uh, from CREMA, that is Clinical Research Education and Management Academy, and then I have did some shortened course of biostats also from APGDCR, and then I got the first job in as an analyst in D12 Pharma, and I have spent over there for near about 10 years, and after that I have joined LARVOL as a head right now. So right now I'm controlling everything about the QL management projects and about the QL identification too. So that
Yeah.
is a brief introduction about myself.
Thank you, Sandeep. And we're going to talk about what you do in the field of key opinion leader tracking, monitoring,
Yeah.
identification in a second. So, where are you geographically right now in India?
So right now, basically, I'm from right now. I'm in Bangalore right now. So it is western part of India. So just a little bit of southern, and basically, I am a Bengali, and I have born in Kolkata, and then I have moved to Jharkhand as my father is an official. So there is a lot of transferable jobs over here and there. So this is so right now completely I'm in Bangalore now, settled over here.
Okay, okay. A bit of a question not related to our topic today. How is the situation with COVID right now in India in general, and where you are in particular?
So, COVID situation is right now in India is big, not a critical now. So the government have made it a lot of precautions and all these things in hospital, in colleges, schools, and IT and the We Work embassy also is everywhere. So I think everybody is using masks definitely wherever there is a crowd place, of course. So right now everything is fine. So no need to worry. So all set.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I know, some months back, it was much tougher in India, and many of our colleagues at LARVOL suffered a lot,
Yeah.
and their family was affected a lot. So I'm glad that things are now hopefully behind us, gradually fading away as a bad memory and an extraordinary situation. So let's talk about key opinion leaders, tracking, what we do, and our Omni product. Um, some people in the audience know exactly what it is, others do not. Let's take the people who don't know what KOLs are or key opinion leader tracking is, and what does it have to do with the pharmaceutical industry. So pretend it's even someone from outside of the pharmaceutical or healthcare industry, and explain uh, in a few minutes what is a KOL in our industry.
So basically, the KL used to say that the key opinion leaders. So they might be a doctors, a physicians, they might be a scientists, and also the HCPs. They are also counting into this KLs right now. So the key opinion leaders are the tremendous vast area where the pharmaceutical, not only the pharmaceutical company, I will say the biotech companies also, and the CROs also. There are a lot of CROs are also there. Those who are going behind the this key opinion leaders, those who are physician because of their feasibility trials of phase 1. So they are looking for the phase 1 studies where they need the KOLs. So these are the physicians or the doctors or scientists which we are tracking it daily, uh, daily activities of their medical conferences, their events, what they are actually doing it, what they are publishing the paper, and what are the clinical trials they are behind of, what are their research interests, whether they are into a diabetes, so they're specifically into a diabetes, which type of diabetes they are mentioning to, whether it's a gestational diabetes, whether it's a pre-diabetes, so all these things. So if you take into the consider of oncology, so oncology is a vast area right now. So maybe the medical oncologist is interested in I will say lung cancer. Now it will be very much specific whether this KL or you can say HCPs is really interested in which type of lung cancer, whether it's a mesothelioma, whether it's a NSCLC or whether it's a SCLC. Now after that also we have to check it out. Okay, fine. In the NSCLC, what this medical oncologist is really going into the another one directions, like of in immunotherapy or in you can say surgery with immunotherapy, or a lot of things are there in that. So we have to track them, and we have to showcase the data as such, so that could be useful for the pharma company to get into that data. So everywhere the data is the most important part, not only in the pharma industry. I feel that all the industries, the data is the most important thing right now. And apart from that, there is a new trend it came like from the last 4 to 5 years we are seeing, that is the digital opinion leaders. So we are more into that right now. We are doing a lot of work on the digital opinion space for DOLs. So this will help out to understand the pharma industry, that where this scale is exactly going towards their research interest, and how to approach them, how to engage with them, and all these parameters are there once we will showcase the data. So
Assume I'm not at all in the industry. So key opinion leaders are like influencers, right?
yes,
In a way,
yeah,
they're the Kim Kardashians and of healthcare. They're famous
yeah,
doctors who are that their colleagues listen a lot. They speak to conferences, and maybe they are known at the international level.
yeah,
Maybe they are known at the national level, or maybe
Yep.
they known at the local level. There are multiple tiers, I guess, of influencers, but they are respected with their peers. And
Yeah.
so pharmaceutical companies want to be friends with them and they want to um, uh, answer their questions about the products. Now, it's a
Yep.
very regulated industry, of course. The pharmaceutical companies cannot advertise to them about about things about indications of drugs that are not approved by the FDA in the United States. But they can answer their questions. They
Yeah.
can, in an unbiased way, present data to them that has been presented, let's say, or that has been made available at conferences. And so, relationship with these KOLs became a big part of the pharmaceutical industry. Of course, it needs to be done following the rules of engagement, and it needs to be done ethically. And it has, but it became very important in the pharmaceutical industry, in particular because so much, not just in cancer, but in all diseases, so much of the data um, for new drugs it hasn't been reviewed by the FDA yet, and science advanced so quickly that the community of physicians need to understand the data that exists for these drugs, even if it hasn't been approved by the FDA yet. And so there's a whole area of uh, communication supporting scientific discussions for drugs in indications that are not approved. And it's a very important concept of what's called in the pharmaceutical industry off-label
Yeah.
indications. So indications that are not
And
on the approved label for that drug.
yeah, and also I will add one point over here. You have mentioned about the off level also, but the pharma industry, a lot of pharma industry is looking for the product life cycle. So, if any drug or if any medicine which is used for particular therapeutic area, it might be used for the another one. It might be used for the another area also.
That's right.
So they has to know the product life cycle. So for the particular product, so that is also nowadays it's a very much they need the KOLs because not only the KOLs, they need the HCPs also. I will say the nurse practitioners, the pharmacy practice people. Also, I will say the young scale means the youngsters are also there. The young doctors who are giving their experience on this particular product life cycle of particular medicines. So these are also important for the pharma companies to understand what the KOLs view. So these are those things because it's a vast area and the thing is going in a different way. So that's
Let me rephrase what you said. You said a few important points that I want to make sure are clear for our audience. So you said, well, doctors are not the only important one. HCP in general are important. So beyond the traditional definition of KOLs, the pharmacist, nurse, people who are maintaining the formularies. Formularies are the list of approved drugs at in a hospital or healthcare system. Um, so physician assistants sometimes, other healthcare professionals are also important. And the information about new drugs, especially about new scientific data, is also important for them. That's a point you made. The other point you made, and I want to rephrase, is emerging uh, KOLs, emerging HCP, healthcare professionals. So people who are, they're not famous yet, but remember the movie Almost Famous, right?
yes,
They're almost famous. I mean, they're the rising stars. They're the young Turks, as sometimes we say, right? They're people who are on the ascending in terms of their influence. And for pharmaceutical companies, knowing who are going to be the new stars among doctors is important. They're the people who count. They're the next Kim Kardashians. So understanding who are the rising stars is important for the pharmaceutical industry. Right? So we can talk with them, build a relationship with them. We can make sure they understand the data about our product. We understand the pipeline and the roadmap for a given drug. Is what I'm saying? You agree with that? That makes sense to you?
Yes, exactly. Exactly the same points are there. Exactly.
Yeah. So changing topic a little bit. Well, actually, in a moment, I want to talk about Omni, which is the LARVOL solution about key opinion leader tracking and monitoring and identification. But before that, I want to ask you about the regulatory, compliance, and legal framework for working with KOLs. So can you explain a little bit what you've learned over the years about regulatory and compliance for key opinion leaders work?
Means, Bruno, the question is that you want to know what type of compliance we are for the product, or so 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 basically for the regulatory and compliance, uh, we say that we should be a GDPR means compliance first of all, because it's all about the data. Okay, so we use the data. So we use the data according to the GDPR compliance. So we should be the GDPR compliance. And a lot of a lot of KL companies, they are also using the patient data for their what you call for their grand rounds for the KLs, for the HCPs and all this. At that time, they use the HIPAA compliance 4F2 regulation process. So
So,
these are the two compliance are mainly
yeah.
important for care management.
So that's a whole area, and I want to again, for the people who are listening who might not be familiar with it, I want to say a few words about GDPR and HIPAA, and then of course there are other kind of compliance as well, which have to do with what a pharma can discuss or not with HCP and with KOL. We can touch on that as well. But let me clarify. So GDPR is a general protection, data protection laws coming from Europe, but that really apply all over the world now, and there are equivalent laws in California, for example, or in other parts of the world. And GDPR essentially means that you have to be very, very careful when collecting data about people, including about physicians, including when it's public data about physician. It involves, for example, the right to be forgotten. So if a physician says, I don't want to be tracked anymore, we have essentially to take that into account in our database. So that's GDPR. The second set of law is HIPAA. And so that's the Health Information Portable Act, Protection and Portable Act, if I got my acronym right. And that's about patient data. Now, it's also very important, obviously, in healthcare. It applies a little bit less to physicians, because physicians are not themselves patients. But in our field in general, it's an important piece of law. And then there's the other side, Sandeep, which is, of course, what can pharma do with key opinion leaders in HCP, in particular about non-approved indications. As we said before, a drug has on-label applications which are approved by the regulators, by the FDA in the US, and then a drug might have applications outside of the label. It's called off-label. Very important. And increasingly, in many areas, there's a ton of data that have not been approved yet, or maybe will never be approved, but are important. For example, a cancer drug might be approved for one type of cancer, but there's data for other cancers. And physicians, doctors, oncologists, let's say in this case, should take that into account. And it's important that they know, actually, right? It's actually important that they know. But pharmas needs to do that using very strict rules. They cannot promote, for example, because to promote, you need to be approved. they can answer questions and support a scientific conversation in a balanced way. So there's all types of rules that apply to the pharmaceutical industry. It's very important. And it's important because the industry needs to be, I'm of course working, we are working for that industry. We believe that our industry is a positive industry. We want pharma to develop more drugs and be successful. But sometimes the industry has run into problems and got into situation where they got attacked for doing things that should not be done. You cannot promote a drug that has not been approved, for example. That's unethical and that's illegal. So we are here to provide information for the pharmaceutical industry to do ethical work and to follow all of these rules. And so it's very regulated, and it should be. So I wanted to give that context because the field of key opinion leaders is very compliance driven and very regulated. So anything to add on that, Sandeep? And then I want you to describe Omni and what LARVOL is doing in the field of KOLs and what is our product that we sell to the pharmaceutical industry. But first, any general comments on the point made so far, Sandeep?
No, all have been covered, and you are right in that case, which you have said about the off level. And this is most important area where we have to very much conscious about the GDPR. So that is very important when we are capturing the data in our system. That is very, very important to see, look after this each and everything. So thank you. Thanks to mention that point.
Sure. So let's get to Omni. You can do a little infomercial now, Sandeep,
Yeah.
on Omni.
So Omni is our hardcore product actually for LARVOL. So basically, and where we track all the KOLs, whether that is a physicians or nurses or physician assistant, as you say, or it is a pharmacy practice. So we track their daily activities according to means their affiliations, their email IDs if it is from US. Non from the non-US, we won't do that. Why? Because once again, it is a GDPR. So for the email ID specifically, and then we will track their Twitter data, we will track their conference data, we track their clinical trials, we track their general news, the YouTubes, blogs, each and everything, and also now we are tracking it for the payments data also. So these are the mainly field which we are tracking it day by day or weekly. And what happened that we are sending to our customers in a email format, which is email designing their daily weekly activities. So the scale names comes from our customer basically. So once we will identify the KOLs, and then they will choose the KOLs according to the ranking basis, and then they will give us some of the KOLs for the tracking, which is their interest purpose. So when we were tracking it, so we will see their weekly activities wise. So what they are doing it in the clinical trial activities, what they are doing it in the events, what they are doing it in, you can say on the guidelines, which is another one most important thing which we have built up recently. So YouTube's, after that blogs, general news, we used to say publications, obviously. So these are the mainly which is there in Omni side. So Omni is basically a wholesale package, I will tell you, means for the pharma industry to track any of the KL in a definite point with a particular interest. So that is the main thing of Omni, and Omni is very classified. Omni is very clean data. I will say. I will rather say that the team is working day and night. Why? Because the data should not. Because the data should be updated every moment. So it is not like that outdated data is there with us. No, it will be not. So it is always be updated data, and we take the futuristic data for the events also. So that is also the most important part of the Omni. So I will say once again, it's a wholesale package for the pharma industry uh, to track any cares, to make a decision basis of that for that particular disease area or for the particular product or what they want to. So that's what. So this is the main
Yeah.
thing about Omni.
I'm by the way extremely proud of what you and your team are doing. And I might have a little bias, but I think that Omni is an absolutely terrific product, and there's a reason why we're selling it so well to the pharmaceutical industry. And an image that came to my mind as you were describing is that if KOLs or influencers like Kim Kardashian, Omni is like TMZ. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
TMZ, Sandeep. In the US, it's a celebrity channel on TV. So we like TMZ. We follow the celebrity with the paparazzi. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's not the right analogy. We're tracking what the celebrity are doing, but by celebrity we don't mean only the very famous physicians. All the physicians and other HCP, we essentially track what they do, and we help people who are following them, the pharmaceutical companies, uh, track the physicians and be able to engage with them. And now, when I present it as celebrity, it's a little bit making light of it. It's not a completely correct picture. The main point is that pharmaceutical companies need to engage with the medical community. And to engage, they need to understand what the physicians are doing, what are they interested in. Also, where are they? Are they going to be in a conference, for example? Are they going to be in a symposium? Are they going to be in a podcast? And all of that help the pharmaceutical industry uh, communicate, engage, um, send information as well to the HCP and the KOLs, again, in a regulatory compliant way. So that's essentially what we do. I'm proud of what we do. I think we're doing a wonderful job. And the unique aspect of what you and your team are doing, Sandeep, is that uh, we are combining technology and expert curation. So it's like thinking we have technology to track the activity of the key opinion leaders online and in publication and in conference, but we have a group of journalists, to continue the earlier analogy, who are curating that information, who are annotating that information. And what's unique about our approach is that we're very good at um, curation, expert curation of data, and at technology, automated curation of data. And usually, and that's the infomercial part of the program, by the way, folks, usually um, people who are selling these solutions, these solutions like Omni, they're very good at one or the other. We're very good at both, and I'm very proud of that again. So, Sandy, it's been wonderful having you on the program. Usually, what we do is that at the end we have a takeaway um, about about what we talked about. So, if you were to summarize all of the points we made, what would be the most important point for our audience, and to keep in mind about KOL tracking and about Omni? Any final thoughts or takeaway you'd like to leave for the audience?
Yes. So the most important part, which I wanted to tell once again, that the Omni about Omnia, that is our the hardcore product of the LARVOL. So I always say that. So just a second. So
Yes,
sorry for that. So I will just
no
say
problem.
that Omni product is a wholesale package where it is a very clean data. First of all, it is a very clean data. I know that there is a lots of data of KL, but where we are interested specifically, so that type of data we can find it out on Omni because it's a daily activity. We are tracking it all the data in a daily wise, in a weekly wise, all the data we are checking it thorough. So that's what I will say. And we are going into a different era right now. So we are going into a digital opinion leaders also. So there are a lot of upcoming things are coming on in Omni. So when I have once again a time, I will just explain everything over there.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's what.
Sandeep, thank you very, very much, sir. Enjoy the
Thank
evening in Bangalore, and we appreciate very much you sharing your thoughts on LARVOL Omni. a KOL tracking, monitoring, and identification solution, and which is our largest and fastest growing product. Thank you very much, Sandeep. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thanks, sir. Thank you, all of you. Thank you.